Everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again, we're here with Chandra and Dave with Aran and Franklin Engineering. And y'all, we were talking before we came on, talking about, we especially on Bolivar. I don't know what it's like over in on the west side of the Bay system, but RV ports have gotten to be a big part of Bolivar because the cost of building materials went up. They lost their home during Ike or something, and they want something down here, but they can't afford a home. And a lot of people they use their RV down here in the summertime, and then they take it to the deer camp in the wintertime, and back and forth. So they just build an RV port, and I've seen RV ports down here from the aluminum ones where the crew comes in, you pour a slab, they come in, drill it down into the slab to elaborate with a nice deck and a kitchen upstairs. Let's talk about first the aluminum ones. As far as, because I know what I saw during Burl, and a lot of them had to be brought up, back up. Let's talk a little bit about how do they get certified like a wooden one does, or how does that work?
Yeah, they do get certified like a wood one does. Normally, those are purchased by a manufacturer, and so they have kind of a pre-engineered plan that's to a certain wind speed, and so they will usually send us the plans and say, "Hey, here's a pre-engineered plan for this size building," and then we help them do a foundation design that will meet whatever that local criteria is. So if it's an A zone, we can do just a normal slab. We just have to make sure it has enough weight to that to help prevent it from
Right.
uplifting. And then if it's a V zone, then we would have to make sure it has subpiles attached to that slab because the V zone requirement is that anything in the V zone has to have subpiles.
Is that
So
for washout?
it's for, yeah, there's scour, there's other stuff. Now the problem is like these aluminum carports are really only designed for wind. They're not really designed for a lot of the V zone loads like impact loads on those little columns or you know um, wave action on those columns or anything. They're really only designed for wind, so they're not ideal for a V zone. A zone's only designed for rising water, so it's rising and it's falling, so you're not getting that velocity movement as much as the V zone area. So I would
Hmm.
not recommend them in the V zone because we can't use them really to resist the debris impact
Right.
loads, the wave impact loads, and other things that we have to design for in a V zone. But in an A zone, they're perfectly fine. They're designed correctly, but as you see, they don't perform
Dave
very
and I were
well.
talking about it earlier.
They don't perform very well.
I
So
know during Burl, we had wind gusts to 101 that I know of over here. And I went back and was looking at houses, after the water went down, and you saw some like this on one side of the road and this on the other, depending on the
right,
wind, the direction of the wind.
yeah,
And people hook come alongs to them, pull them up, and then a lot of them put, 6 by 6 poles up, and a lot of them had
that's
done
true.
that already. Now, on a wooden one, a lot of people build stuff down here in stages, and say they're going to start off with an RV port, and they build an upper deck that later on they may enclose for a kitchen or a one bedroom deal. That all needs to be known ahead of time, so when y'all design that, uh, that can be taken into consideration.
Yeah, it does. And we actually talk to people all the time. They say, "Hey, right now I'm going to leave it open or just put screen on it, but later I'm going to enclose like half of it to be storage and a bath and kitchen, just for like a little efficiency type, extra, place to hang out when you're upstairs." But usually what they do is they tell us that so that
Oh,
we
do
can,
they?
because, well, and the reason is because when you start enclosed, like if it's open, then the wind's just blowing straight through. But if it hits that wall, it's putting different loads on the foundation. And so that may mean that the foundation has to be deeper or larger in order to accommodate that. And one of the things we didn't talk about on those aluminum covers, really the wall height of that should be above flood elevation, even in an A
Okay.
zone. So because you can't certify anything unless that roof system is above flood elevation. So say your ground's at 7, your base flood's 14, you got to be at least 7 foot to get above the
Right.
roof system above that. But a lot of times you're talking about a grade of 5 and a base flood of 17, so you're like looking at 12, 13
Yeah.
feet to get to that height. Those walls aren't that tall. They're maybe 10 feet,
Mhm.
13 sometimes on the RV cover, 14 maybe. So it's real close. So it's definitely something to look at to make sure that you're gonna get that roof system over the flood elevation.
When you're designing an RV port that down the road they may enclose it, do they have to have all the drawings and everything? Or can they just say, hey, we're going to enclose this. We don't know what we're going to put up there. It's all the same because the interior walls, that really won't make a difference if they move a wall, will it?
Usually not, because you've got the columns that are supporting the foundation and they go all the way up to the roof system.
Okay.
And we usually just frame in between those columns. So any interior walls don't really matter. It's not really load bearing. So if they decide to kind of reconfigure, it's not a problem. The problem comes in is when you go from being an open deck to living space, then
Right.
you start getting into like septic issues and stuff with the county. So it's definitely something to not just do, because I know some people have the mentality it's easier to get forgiveness than permission, but
Not over here.
it's not. It's
Well,
not.
and the other part is if you're going to sell it down the road, and if
Yeah, you
someone's
really need to
buying
go
it
through the
because
permitting.
they
Yeah, go
can,
through the permitting process and get it all done correctly. So, and if you do enclose those walls, that's something we have to certify.
right.
Dave has to review the inspection. Well, we have to give him a nailing pattern for all the walls and everything, and pressures for the windows and doors. And Dave, has to look at those windows, make sure that they're going to work, and review all the inspection reports. And so we have to kind of make sure it all works. Even if they want to do something down the line. So it would be considered an enclosure of that RV cover later as a
Right.
certificate.
And Dave, I can tell you, so last year I think we had 10 post-construction RV cover inspections and certifications, so that means somebody didn't get the windstorm on it. Years down the road, they decided, hey, we're going to sell it, or I want to take a loan out on it, or I want to take a loan out on it to build out the top part, and there's no certificate, and the bank doesn't want to take a risk on that asset
Right.
without having a WPI8. So then they come to us, and we've got issues because we don't know how deep the piles are. So you have to get a piling receipt, or have people had to dig down. We've had people that their roofs weren't in compliance. They've had to replace that. We've had had to come in and retrofit different fasteners,
Clips and straps and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just do a lot, and then some people have put lean-tos on the side of the piles below base flood. You can't certify that, so it just gets into a lot of issues, and it's literally double the cost. If you took it and you had a post, just to say your
A
regular
pre-construction
RV,
engineer.
right? Yeah, once you do it post construction, it's going to cost you twice what it would have cost you before.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not going to insure it anyway." Well, and that's fine. You don't have to insure it. But if you go ahead and do it correctly and get the certificate, that gives you options. It gives you an option to sell it later, take a loan later. If you have health issues and you need money, if you pass away and your kids need to sell it, like you need to be able to do something with that property at a point in the future. And it's not just about you and what you can do, but what that property needs down the line. So it's always good. You don't have to buy the insurance, but if you
Right.
have the certificate, you have
yeah.
that option down the line. And you don't have to come to Dave and Dave says, well, it costs twice as much for engineering, twice as much for inspections. You got to rip all this stuff off and you got to redo it. And it's not a fun conversation to have with people, because while it's performing okay for them and they don't really see the problems that we're seeing,
Right.
it hasn't been put through those trials really of that high wind event. Even Beryl, I mean, it was a hurricane, but it wasn't what we designed to. We designed to an even higher wind event. So, I mean, we have to make sure it meets that standard, because we're recommending it to be certified and insured, and it has to meet that higher standard.
Right.
So.
I know y'all do home drawings and stuff. Do y'all have RV ports, like a basic port? If someone says, look, I don't want anything fancy, we're on Bolivar Peninsula. Do y'all already have something pre-done that might save them a little money? Because it's just a standard, drawing where, okay, other than putting it on their land, that it'll save them some on that, or is every job different?
I mean, every job is a little bit different, but we do have some starting points. We can
Okay.
send them a drawing and say, hey, this is kind of a general, 18 by, 40 RV cover that's 14 feet tall. And, we'll look at their elevation certificate or natural ground letter and see kind of how we need to adjust that for their particular site. But they can say, yeah, I like this. No, I don't. We have some that are just a deck. We have some that are deck with a cover with a partial enclosure. So, and they can kind of customize it however they want.
Right.
We do have a starting point. And honestly, for Bolivar, because you're not required to do like a full architectural and structural design for the county to get permitted, we get what I call napkin drawings. I mean, basically somebody just kind of sketches what they kind of want, and we like work our magic and make it look pretty,
Yeah.
So, and I apply the engineering to it. So, I mean, we can really work with a very rudimentary sitting at the bar, sketching it out,
Right.
scan it, and send it to us. I mean, I've literally seen somebody took a wrapper from a hamburger and like drew up what they wanted, and we designed stuff off of that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's the great part when you're the inspection. When you do everything, you've got the people that can decipher their drawing, make the drawing on it, send it, have the engineers look at it, and everything's done in one location. And then once it's being built, it's the same group over there inspecting it. It's not an outside source. So, well, if people want to get more information on, maybe they're looking at building a home or an RV port, what the best way to get hold of you is your contact on your website?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, www.aranfranklin.com, or just give us a call. We'll answer. And I like the way you're thinking, David. I'll have some pre-designed for sale RV cover with inspections and certification and everything.
It's
He's working up a package price in his head already. I can see it real spinning.
You go over there and say, look, on Bolivar, this is basic. Here's the drawing. It's a drive-through deal. It's sort of like going for your Starbucks in the morning. You just pull up and say, look, I need an 18 by 40 foot. It's going on Bolivar Peninsula. Send me one of those, and you pay for it at the drive-through. So
I love it.
There you go.
Great. Well, we'll be back next week with maybe they'll open a drive-through in Texas City at their main office. You never know. We may have some drawings of some RV ports over here for you to look at, but we will be back next week with Aran and Franklin. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.